Well, again, good morning, everybody. Delighted to be here with you today. You know, that first reading from 2 Maccabees is extraordinary, and it's one of the most dramatic scenes in the whole Old Testament. The setting, of course, is the period when the Greeks were imposing their culture on Israel. And there was a great resistance to it led by Judas Maccabeus, that means Judas the hammer. Hence the book of Maccabees describes that period. And this particular scene is maybe the most dramatic described in the books of Maccabees. Namely, a mother with 7 sons, and they refuse to cooperate with the oppressors. They won't eat pork, in violation of Jewish law. And so this brutal persecution and this execution unfolds. One by one, the sons are brought in front of the mother on purpose. They're tortured, their hands and feet, limbs cut off, and then killed, till finally she's killed. Do you doubt this happens up and down the centuries, that religious people sometimes face a culture so inimical to them that it leads to martyrdom? Well, don't look too far. Our patron saint right here, I love how insouciantly he holds the axe that killed him. See, he's in God, he's beyond that suffering. But if you doubt that this happens to the present day, 20th century was the greatest century of martyrs in the history of the church. There were more martyrs in the 20th century than all the previous centuries combined. That's what happens when the culture is violently opposed to the faith. It happens. And people like that mother and the 7 sons, up and down the centuries, are great heroes in that resistance. Now, we're not at that point in our country, thank God. We're not. But and especially here in this college town, on a university campus, we know about opposition to the faith. Am I right? I do a lot of work on the internet, so I'm in dialogue all the time with the secular culture. And I know there's a lot of opposition, not to the point of death, thank God, but a lot of criticism. What's wrong with you religious people, with your medieval ideas, your cruelty and your obscurantism, and isn't it time to grow up and become good secular moderns, and right? So we do face, not brutal persecution, but persecution. And a lot of you in this room are on the front lines of it, right? Now here's the first insight I got for you. Don't be bullied by it. We in the great Catholic tradition, we're not in some little rowboat. We're on this great ocean liner of an intellectual and artistic and spiritual tradition. Some of the greatest figures, you got some up here, some of the greatest figures in the Western world, not just Western, all over the world, some of the greatest intellectual and cultural figures belong to our tradition. You want smarts? We got Thomas Aquinas. You want deep holiness? How about Mother Teresa of Calcutta? You want courage? How about Thomas More? You want a lot of those things combined. Look at John Paul II. Don't think for a minute that the secular culture's in some great, ocean liner and we're in some little rowboat. On the contrary. We speak out of a very rich and profound and beautiful tradition. More to it. And I come across this every day. A lot of people, skeptics, at least announcing themselves as skeptics, come on my website, full of angry questions. And I tease them sometimes. I'll say, well, nevertheless, you're on my website, right? Or they'll attack a sermon of mine, there's a bunch of medieval nonsense. And yet you're listening to my sermon. Just, remember in the Gospels when Herod, who had arrested and put John the Baptist in prison, nevertheless, Herod secretly listened as John the Baptist would preach in prison. There are a lot of people like that. And there's a very simple reason why. You find it on page 1 of St. Augustine's Confessions. And everybody in this room, especially the young people here, if you've not read Augustine's Confessions, read it. Start this afternoon. Get the translation, by the way, by Maria Balding. She was a Benedictine nun. She did a translation of Augustine that makes it read like a novel. No kidding. It's really engaging. Get her translation and start reading it. But page 1 of the Confessions contains the single greatest line in Christian anthropology, namely this: Lord, you've made us for yourself, and therefore our heart is restless until it rests in you. Notice he doesn't say our hearts are restless. He says our heart, cor nostrum, singular. Why? Because we all got it in common. Every one of us, everyone in this room, everyone in this world has in common a hunger and thirst for God. Why? Because we've been made for God. And that's why, fellow sinners, we all walk down this path, right? That's why nothing in this world finally satisfies the deepest longing. Give you all the wealth you can get, all the pleasure you can acquire, all the honor you'd ever want to receive. Will it make you happy, capital H? Am I right? In fact, you go down that path, it'll lead to unhappiness and addiction. Where's addiction come from? But I need more of this thing. That's why I'm not happy. I must need more pleasure. I must need more honor. I must need more power. And before I know it, I'm addicted to these worldly things. No. Cor nostrum in quietum est. Our heart is restless until it rests in God. And everybody deep down knows it. Which is why, again, we shouldn't be cowed when we speak of God. Take the example of the courage of the mother and the sons in that wonderful Maccabee story. That we should stand with courage in the face of that criticism. Say, no. We speak for what is deepest in the human heart. I've used this story before. I was in California up until I was assigned here to Winona, Rochester, and I used to go for a walk on the beach there, beautiful, on the Pacific Ocean. And there's a section where they let the dogs, off the leash. And these dogs, it would be with their master, and the master would throw the tennis ball like out in the surf, and the dog would run out, and he'd grab the ball, and he'd run back, and that's an image of heaven if you want, because, see, that dog is totally, utterly happy. Okay? Because that's all the desire he's got. Well-fed, has a loving master, and is having a ball on the beach. That's all the dog wants, and so he's completely happy. But we're not like that. Because we could be well-fed, we could have a ball on the beach, we could have all the fun in the world, and then what? There's still that longing, because we're built for more than that. The world always needs to hear that lesson. Here's one more little take on this question of God and the longing for God. How many scientists are here? Who are studying the sciences? Good. Like what, physics or chemistry or? Biology. Okay, good. And what's this Mankato State famous for in terms of studies? Is it education or nursing? What is it? So nursing, of course, very much involved with the sciences. Something I find with a lot of young people is there's a great reverence for the sciences. Terrific. I love the sciences too. You know what they gave us? One reason people reverence them so much. I got these two machines in my pocket, but like this thing that the sciences gave us, I mean, the technology that's made our lives so livable and easy. I can ask this lady, hey Siri, how many students are there at Mankato State?
Here's an answer from AmericanSchoolSearch.com. Minnesota State University, Mankato.
15,315. Okay. Thank you, Siri. All right, that's enough. No, it's stupid. I'm just making the point that the miracle, when I was a little kid, what I just did, that's out of Star Trek. They did that on, you know what I'm saying? What the sciences have produced for us, God bless them. But what's the danger? The danger is a kind of scientism that says the only thing we can know or worth knowing is what the sciences tell us. The reduction of all knowledge to the scientific form of knowledge, it's an infection in our culture. And what it does to people's minds and hearts is it warps them and limits them and restricts them to this world only. Attend to the gospel. There's a lot more we can say about it, but the Sadducees who didn't believe in life after death, and they challenged Jesus with this kind of reductio ad absurdum argument, They were people who were limited to this world only. Oh, there are a lot of descendants of the Sadducees today. Scientism that limits our vision. But let me tease you with something here. What's the foundation for all the sciences? Whether it's biology, chemistry, psychology, astronomy, any of the sciences, what is it? Some sense that the world is imbued in every nook and cranny with intelligibility. Am I right? I mean, any scientist has to go out with the confidence that she will meet a world that's intelligible, that's knowable, that has a knowable structure to it. Whether you're looking up into the stars, you're looking down into the smallest microscopic reality, you're expecting to find something like order and intelligibility. Otherwise, your science wouldn't get off the ground. Albert Einstein said, the most incomprehensible thing about the universe is that it's comprehensible. But think about it. See, we take it so for granted, we don't realize how deeply strange that is. The most incomprehensible thing about the universe is it's comprehensible. Universally, in every nook and cranny, up, down, the biggest, the smallest. Why should that be true? Why should that be true? The great answer of our tradition is because the universe was made by a mathematician. The universe, imbued with intelligibility universally, was made by someone of infinite intelligence. The intelligibility of the world corresponding to a universal and infinite intelligence. Go get an article once you're finished with Augustine's Confessions. 1960, a man named Eugene Wigner. He was not a Catholic, he was a secular Jew. Physicist of the generation right after Einstein, so people like Niels Bohr and that generation. Eugene Wigner wrote an article in 1960, look it up on the web, and it's called The Unreasonable Effectiveness of Mathematics in the Physical Sciences. Now think about that title for a second. The unreasonable effectiveness of mathematics in the physical sciences. His point was, in his physical science, physics, what did he find as he looked out? That the world could be described with the most extraordinarily complex mathematics. Why should that be true? Why should that be true? That we have to use the most complex mathematical formulas and equations to describe the nature of physical reality. Why wouldn't physical reality just be at a very basic or chaotic level? Why is it imbued through and through, up and down, great and small, with a mathematically refined intelligibility? Now I say, Wigner was a secular Jew. He didn't say, oh, God is the answer, but he said, you know, it's a miracle. Read the article from a secular physicist. You know, it's a miracle, he says. Well, he's right. What I would say to those who, in a scientistic way, say, you know, there's no God, and this is silly, and it's just this world, it's just matter and energy. Yeah, but it isn't just matter and energy, is it? It's matter and energy patterned in highly complex mathematical ways. How do you explain that? How do you explain that? What both readings are doing, the first reading from Maccabees, second Maccabees, and the Gospel, in a way, they're trying to break us out of this soul-suffocating secularism. Excuse the alliteration, but the soul-suffocating secularism that is bedeviling a lot of people today, especially young people. You know, and you guys probably know this from just your talking to your friends and so on. Study after study after study have been showing how deeply unhappy younger people are. Surprising? I don't know. You take away the transcendent referent, you take away the sense of God, of ultimate purpose, of deepest meaning, all you got left are the goods that this world can give. You'll be superficially happy for a few minutes, but you're going to be unhappy at the deepest level of your soul. Why? Because, Lord, you made us for yourself, and therefore our heart is restless till it rests in thee. See, now everybody, in a few minutes at the end of Mass, I'm going to send you forth from this place. So here we are, and we're listening to the Word of God, and we're going to eat and drink the body and blood of Jesus Christ. We're going to be drawn into this intimate communion with the Trinitarian God. Terrific, terrific. But this is not meant just for us. Henri de Lubac said, the most sacred words of the Mass, after the words of consecration, are, go. Go. The Mass is ended. Go. Go out from this place. Where's mission country begin? Right out that door. Am I right? You don't got to get on a plane and fly to Asia or Africa or something to find mission country. It's right out that door. And we're meant to take the fire of this experience and bring it to all of these hungry hearts that are out there. They're your friends, they're your colleagues, they're maybe your teachers, your peers and parents. Let's not be cowed. No. Be like that mother in 2 Maccabees and the 7 sons. They were facing, murderous persecution. We're not facing that, thank God. But we are facing opposition. Summon their courage. Summon his courage, our patron saint right there. Summon his courage. And speak of God. Speak of God. Speak of God. Don't be cowed into silence. Don't think we're in some little pathetic minority. No. We're speaking from the mainstream of a powerful intellectual and cultural tradition. Be missionaries. I promise I'll end with this. I've been telling everybody in this diocese, my number one priority is vocations. We need priests, big time in this diocese. Our priests are shrinking in number. And I got a lot of priests about to retire. I got 2 years in a row, no ordinations in our diocese. This is not good. I'm looking out here. I'm looking up here, by the way. Priests, we need you. We need you. Now that's a powerful way to be a missionary, a powerful way to be a witness. By the way, our reader, what a great voice. There you are. Doesn't he? Talk about that guy should be proclaiming the gospel, I think. Young ladies, I'm not forgetting you, not for the priesthood, but I don't know if I wrote an article last week on Mother Alfred. She's the great Franciscan sister who basically founded the Mayo Clinic. Read up on her sometime. There's a lady of acute intelligence and confidence and moxie, and it told people what she wanted, and by God, she got it. And the Mayo Clinic, because she's the one that had the vision. Remember, the story. We should all know it and propagate it. That when she was helping the original Dr. Mayo with the hospital, taking care of some people, she said, yeah, we're meant to build a hospital here in Little Rochester. At the time, it was a little nothing town. But she said, not just for Rochester. It's meant to take care of the whole world. And everybody around her thought she was out of her mind. Where are you getting this idea from? Well, she did it, by God. She built the hospital that indeed now is serving the whole world. Young ladies, religious life, we need you. We need you. So, all of us, let's summon the courage of that great mother and the 7 sons in 2 Maccabees. Let's summon the courage to announce God to a hungry world.